And so we find the word Sac over here, Sac River, you know, Sac Indians, Sacagawea, Bird Woman, okay? And we find that the Lord said to his people that he would lead them on eagle's wings. And Moses, a couple hundred years later, after the prophecies of Jacob, and Jacob talked about the offspring and the special blessing upon Joseph and upon his sons, and that they would be the people of the bison. Only the Greeks, when they interpreted the words of Moses, didn't understand what a bison was. So they said, well, it must be one of our mythological characters, so we'll call it a unicorn. But as I was studying this prophecy in Deuteronomy, as I was studying that, you know, the Great Spirit rested on me and said, search out this word. Search out this word. So I search out the word unicorn, and I find out that it came from the Hebrew word reem, R-E'-E-M. And so when I check out that word, it says it's an ancient ox or an ancient bison. And so while I'm studying this out, all of a sudden one day on one of the Discovery channels, or National Geographic, they show this herd of what they thought was the extinct bison in the Black Forest. Looks just like the ones here. There's still a small herd. Look just like the ones here, except the hump isn't quite as large. But it's amazing the things that are taking place now, the wonderful things that are happening. But after I began to study and figure out the plan and so on, I still had one piece of the puzzle to put together. Remember, he said, my people are taken unawares because they don't understand the scriptures nor the plan of the kingdom. And so the plan of the kingdom, several years ago, I had to study that out over and over and to look at each word and so on and find out what is it that he wants, what is this plan? And it is an actual plan for his people, for survival. Not just for survival, but for blessings. And it has to do with two things. One is the storehouse, and you find this in the book of Malachi, where the Lord tells the people, he said, bring ye first all things into the storehouse, and see if I will not pour out a blessing upon you you can't even contain. He said, I will open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing upon you that you can't even contain. And then we find as we study all the way from John the Baptist, who preceded Christ and through the apostles and so on, Christ did the same thing over there as what he did here on this land. And you read about it in this book, He Walked the Americas, where he tells the people they have to be equal. If they want to be blessed, they have to be equal. And they do things for his glory. And if you do it for him and you do the things, or whatever your talent is, and if you don't know what your talent is, you fast and pray about it. You know, that's what I had to do. And I was given a talent. And I was blessed with that talent. But and you can do that. He wants to gives us a gift that we can develop, and he also gives each person a weakness so that no one has the right to say they're better than someone else. But anyway, he did set up a plan. And it says in the scriptures, after Christ died, and it says in there he had expounded all things, so there is no excuse. He had expounded all things to his disciples. And so immediately after his death, they met in one place and they lived all things common. It's the same thing that the way the native people lived over here. And when they got away from that, they began to have problems, you know. So anyway, these are things that I have found out, and I have been blessed by meeting with Red Elk, and he has shared many things with us. And I'm going to turn this over to him now, and he will field any questions you have, and so you're welcome to do that. Ask him any questions that you want. So anyway, my part is over now at the present time. I'll turn it over to him.
My Indian name is Tachashishke. It means red elk. It's not my name that my mother made me take. The real Indian name of my, in our people, they would take the wives, the female's name, and the last name was Heron, the bird. And my mother hated Indians because she was Indian. And living in a time when Indians were, excuse me for saying, worse than nigger. And so Mom would walk around tell everybody she was Egyptian. And she had all 5 of us kids take white man's names. And I didn't mind the short version of my white name, first name. I'm not going to tell it to you because it's not me. And over the years, my middle and last name has changed several times. In the Navy, I was not known as what I was in the streets of Detroit and stuff like that. And I told the people that I've been a cartoonist. I started actually drawing and selling cartoons at 10 for advertisement and stuff. And as an Inner Hyoka and a Hyoka Society member, I'm also a member of the Red Web Society and an honorary member of the Cherokee Crystal Skull Society. And first off, I'd like to say I don't seek these places out. I've turned down a few because Dad said no. And I've only accepted because Dad said yes. But if anybody knows, Hyoka means contrary, backwards. They get on a horse backwards and ride out of the village saying, I hate you, I'll never come back, which meant I love you and I'll be back. And we were contrary, and an Inner Hyoka is even more contrary than a Hyoka. And so as a cartoonist, I took a cartoon name, Two Buffalo Poops, and I loved it. You know, we were clowns, and we are clowns. And I've explained to the group here that laughter is a good healing medicine. Even if it's only temporary, it makes you forget your aches and pains and hurts. And so Hyoka worked quite a bit with laughter. And but one day I was called for a ceremony and given a name, and it was Red Elk. And it was quite a ceremony. And there was no name I would have given myself at all. That's a kind of plain and dumb name to me. Well, it turns out that there are a number of different nations that have Red Elks, Mr. and Mrs. Red Elk. And I'm not Mr. Red Elk or Red. I'm Red Elk. And I'm not a Mr. Elk or Mr. Red Elk. I'm just Red Elk. And I'm legally that because when I was given the name, the Creator ordered me to have my name officially changed to that. And then he gave me another name. I don't know what people know about the native bloodline and stuff, but there's some of us that have what we call a hiding name. So if things get real rough, there's a name that we have that we can use. So Red Elk will no longer exist unless they know my face or something, and who doesn't? But I'll shave and fool them all. But that's it. I won't tell you my hiding name. But my name is Red Elk, and I have had many attacks from the Misters and Mrs. Red Elks. But after they've met me, the men, not the women, but after the men have met me, they said, okay, that's all right, we understand. The women, women are strange. But nevertheless, so they call me, the Red Elks actually call me redelk.org, because that's my website. This is redelk.org. And, oh, yeah, we've heard of you. And they appreciate the fact that I am not, you know, first of all, like I said, I didn't take the name. I didn't make it up or anything. Or my mother didn't make it up. It was given in ceremony. And that's my name. I mean, my wife calls me by my white name, the one that she married me under, and she and a few of the relatives that just refused to bow down to the name Red Elk, and that's all right. I can understand. And occasionally I have people who have somehow wormed out my white name, and they come up and hi, and give me that white. Oh boy, it fries me. They made a close enemy right then and there. And they're not familiar with me enough to call me by any name other than Red Elk. But last night we did some learning, and I commented that, well, first off, today you have 25 minutes on this particular tape. All right, I commented that I'll teach levitation. That's all I'm going to do is I teach it. And if you're really hungry to know and you're really spiritually in tune with that, you'll learn it, and you don't need me to show it. I know how to do it, and I know how to teach it, and I'm ordered when I'm given a task to check it 3 times to find out if it's truly a falsehood or truth. And I checked this, and it's true. Levitation does work, and I've been on the Art Bell radio show a number of times, as well as others, and TV. And Mr. Bell's radio show, at the time I was first on it, and the second time I was on it, had 22.6 million listeners, supposedly, worldwide, and I taught how to levitate. And since then, I've taught it through letters and stuff many times, so I have no idea how many people have received the information. And only 9 people out of all that I've taught have actually succeeded in doing so. So that's between you and God. I'll give you the lesson, but it's between you and Dad. I know it works. I'm not the only one that does it. I know of other medicine people that do it. My oldest sister does it on demand, but she does it for self. She doesn't show it off, I'll say that for her. But she does no teaching about it, and it's just part of her personal knowledge that she uses occasionally for no bad reason. It's just if she needs to levitate over a mud puddle and it's too wide to walk around, she'll do it. But it's there, and I'll teach that. But yesterday I mentioned that cigarette smoking does not cause cancer, and I told you I would explain. First off, again, I will, well, maybe I better put this in. Don't believe a word I say. Check it 3 times. Check, check, check. Because if people would quit believing what somebody in authority or whatnot says, if they would quit it and check it, we wouldn't have denominations, nor would we have religions. But generally people sit back and let somebody that they think is a brain or knowledgeable in some way, shape, or form do the leading. It's a bunch of dumb sheep being led by blind sheep. And it's their fault. It's their own fault. But, so don't believe a word I say. Check it. Find out if I'm telling true or false. But I know I'm telling the truth on everything that I speak of. I know it because I've done it. And I know it because my teaching has had others do it. Invisibility and so on and so forth. They do it. Not many. Hardly any. But some have learned. But I've had many come and say, oh, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Well, I know they haven't checked it with a pure heart and tenacity, and because it does work. And people have said, fly, prove it. And I've been ordered to take the knowledge that I've been given, check it, till I find out if it's true or false, and then park it until Dad tells me to use it. And if you want to watch me fly, That's great. You will want for the rest of your life, as far as I'm concerned, because I won't do it, and it makes